The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Jesus entered a village where a woman whose name was Martha welcomed him. She had a sister named Mary, who sat beside the Lord at his feet, listening to him speak. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said, "Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me." The Lord said to her in reply, "Martha, Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. Mary has chosen the better part, and it will not be taken from her." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
The deacon was ready to preach tonight, but you know what? I like this gospel, so sorry about that, deacon. Stick around after Mass, maybe you can get his homily. I'm going to leave behind the regular interpretations of this gospel of Martha and Mary and dig right into something that you may not have heard before, and I'm stealing this from Bishop Robert Barron. As you know, I really like his work. So, one of the key aspects of Jesus' ministry was how he challenged the social conventions of the day, and in fact overturned many of them. For example, Jesus ate and drank with outcasts and with sinners. He associated with Samaritans. Jews just did not associate with Samaritans. He dealt kindly with the Roman soldiers, of whom the Jewish people really didn't like. And he, among other things, touched the unclean, lepers. You don't do that. Why? Why did Jesus break through the social norms of the day? Well, he's establishing God's kingdom, in part by doing these outrageous things of the day. He is showing how out of whack his world was compared to how God wants the world to be. One of the most striking aspects of Jesus' ministry was his radical inclusion of women. He allowed women into his inner circle. He spoke publicly to the Samaritan woman at the well. You don't do that if you're a Jew. He forgave the woman who was caught in adultery. The first witnesses of his resurrection were also women. The story of Martha and Mary is another example of this principle, but we would probably miss it because we're not very well versed in the social norms of that time. In the gospel passage, Jesus is in the home of Martha and Mary, and later we learn of their brother Lazarus. Martha is in the space where, in her day, she needed to be, in the kitchen, doing all the things that women of that day would do to prepare for a big meal. Meantime, the men are in the living room doing what they would be doing in those days, talking. And if a rabbi was present, the men would sit at his feet, listening to his words. That's what disciples did in those days. If you're going to be the disciple of a great teacher or rabbi, you would sit at their feet and learn from them. Now we can see why Mary, sitting there with the men, is so offensive to Martha and probably the other men in the room. Martha was upset that Mary had the gall to be there with the men. Jesus' response, Mary has chosen the better part. Yes, of course, it is always important to listen to Jesus, but more so, the better part is Mary entering the role of being a disciple. Jesus' call to discipleship cuts right through the norms of that day. Now, everyone is called to be a disciple. Mary is then the first of many great women who have followed Jesus through the centuries. How about St. Teresa of Avila, or Joan of Arc, or Clare of Assisi, or St. Mother Teresa of Calcutta, and the women of this parish, strong, intelligent, loving women who sit at the feet of Jesus, hearing his words and bringing them to the rest of the world with their own charisms as well. Man or woman, rich or poor, whatever color, nothing deprives anyone of this better part of being a disciple of Jesus. And Mary in this gospel paves the way.